So, simulated protein.
Yeah, all these simulated things. You have to wonder if the artificial can be as good as the real, because can a genetically modified, I don't know, tomato or apple be as good as a naturally produced tomato or apple? Can the genetically modified be better? Well, the problem with that is you can make a genetically modified apple and say it's better. But the point is you're playing with the DNA, you're playing with the fundamental code of the of the food, and you don't know what the next generation or generations are going to be like, because that's going to be a variation on the genetic code. It won't be exactly the same. And so that's basically a mutation. And you don't know how it's going to mutate. You don't know if the changes are going to stay the same, or if nature's going to fight back against the artificial modification. And if there's going to be some kind of conflict between what science is doing and what nature is doing, because science is trying to manipulate nature, which is a little bit crazy because science still doesn't understand nature. So you can say, okay, look what we've produced, this is great. Okay, so the apple tree this year is fine, but what about the apple tree next year? What about the apple tree in 5 years? What if nature rejects the changes and you have no apple trees?
Yeah.
Because it's sort of like saying, well, okay, we know exactly what everything that's going to be and everything that's going to happen. That's crazy, right? That's crazy because you
No one
don't.
knows.
Yeah. Exactly. No one knows exactly what is going to be and exactly what is going to happen, and so it is. It is really crazy, I think, and we have to be very careful with science saying, it's crazy science now with like, oh, you can choose the color of your baby's eyes, and okay, so you choose the color of your baby's eyes, then how do you know that that when your baby grows up and becomes an adult and has children, that their children are not going to be blind, because nature is going to fight back against this artificial process, because there's this random element built. Science is trying to synchronize and codify everything, and say that everything can be manipulated and we know what is going to happen. But there's a random element in nature, and science is trying to get around this problem of the random element in nature. Say you have a group of zebras and a group of lions. You know the lions are going to attack the zebras, but you don't know which lion is going to eat which zebra, right? So that there's a random element there. So you can play with the genetics all that you want, but how are you going to control the randomness of things? Which is
It's very serious.
yeah, it is, because what scientists are saying is we want to control everything, and what nature is saying is, well, the only reason that that you want to do that is so that you know exactly what's going to happen. But what makes life is unpredictability. Not
It's
quite.
not easy.
Yeah, not quite knowing. You might be a great mathematician, but you might have children, and maybe one of them will be a great sports person or something. Yeah, you just don't know about certain elements. And we mentioned the football game that happened last week, where everyone thought that it was impossible for one team to win, and they achieved the impossible because they wanted it more.
Mm-hmm.
Basically.
Hey.
And that comes into something else which I wanted to talk about with all my students this week, which is now was it Barcelona Paris Saint-Germain, was it? Was that the
Real,
game?
no,
Or was it Real Madrid?
that's no Real Madrid. I think.
It was a
Paris.
friend. It was Paris Saint-Germain, no
Yeah,
PSG.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Paris Saint-Germain and
And
Barcelona.
Barcelona, and
Barcelona,
Barcelona.
right. Let's get it
Mm-hmm.
right. Now, lots of reasons why Barcelona won in the end, including the fact there's a lot of money invested in the team. They're very talented. They got the coaches and the managers and everyone to plan, everyone to organize everything. But there's a key element to success that was very visible in the highlights of the game, which I didn't watch the game because I'm not interested in the game, but one of my students came and said, "Oh my gosh, best football match in history! Oh, it's incredible! You have to go online and watch it." Okay, okay, best game in history. Okay, okay, I guess I have to watch it if it was the best game in history. And what I saw was flow. And maybe you've experienced this through the sport that you do with basketball. It's sometimes things flow. It's almost natural. Well, it is natural and almost effortless. When things work, they work.
Automatically.
They synchronize. Everything comes together. The team comes together, and things flow. They like a river. They have a natural direction and a natural progression, and there's almost no stopping it.
Yeah, yeah.
The way,
We have a mental practices sometimes in my team, and one meeting the guy, the trainer or coach, told us exactly about this when sometimes it goes automatically, and what you did, you also, for example, when you shoot, you always scored, you get always see your classmates, teammates, and you are like connected each other, and everything works suddenly and automatically. You don't have to think, just it goes automatically.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's flow. Now, um, one of the things that affects flow is actually what you do when you're not playing the game, which is you're training and practicing and preparing. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's the people win by doing what they do when you don't see them. You know, it's the training that Andy Murray does when he's not playing on court that makes him the best player in the world, right? Um, so it's the training that Stephen Curry does when he's not on the court that makes
Yeah,
him
yeah.
one of the best three-point shooters in history. So, uh, there's the training which is important, but in the actual game, there's something called flow, which everyone connects and everything moves in one direction, and this flow is unstoppable. It's
Hmm.
unstoppable. It's something also that Bruce Lee talked about. Do you know the name Bruce Lee? Bruce Lee was a famous martial artist. I
I
think
think yeah, yeah.
in the 1970s. I think he made a number of films, but he was not really famous for the films. He was famous for his skills doing something like did judo, karate, taekwondo. But he had
Mhm.
his own special system. And what he was doing was he was creating flow. So every movement that the human body makes, it must flow naturally. It must be completely natural. And
Mhm.
he said that it was possible to do this in the context of conflict and fighting, to be in the conflict, to be in the fight, and yet to flow. And when you flow, you're unstoppable. because everything is working in balance and everything is working in harmony. And he had this system where when someone attacked him, he would make a move. I don't know what kind of move he makes. Some kind of move to block the attack. But the blocks were actually themselves attacking moves.
Mm-hmm.
So previously you had a lot of martial arts where there were defensive moves and offensive moves. There were defensive moves and attacking moves, but Bruce Lee created one movement so that every defensive move was automatically an attack. And this was very, very hard to defend against because there was no difference between attack mode and defend mode.
Mm-hmm.
There was no difference between the two. He created this flow between the two ideas. And going back to the football match, that's what I saw. I saw the flow, that everything that the team did was orientated towards one element. They were going to score, and that was it. And there was no other opportunity. Of course, occasionally from time to time it didn't work, but it didn't stop them. You know, like there's a stone in the river, there's a rock in the river, but it doesn't stop the river, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So they would naturally flow around these problems and keep going towards their goal. It was a perfect example of flow. And we've all experienced it from time to time, whether it's in relationships with people, or whether it's in sports events, or just something else in life where everything clicks together and just seems to work. So this flow element is often forgotten about because I'm not sure that you can teach it, because it's actually lots of different things that you can't control coming together.
Mm-hmm.
Like all your teammates just being connected. You can only control what you do. You can't really control all the connections your teammates are going to make. But from time to time, we enter this flow, and it's a really nice thing to experience. And I think it's also something that we should be looking for in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
We should be looking for flow and balance, and not feel that that there's something stopping us. You know, I think about a chainsaw. There's that cuts through wood.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. Basically in life, you want to be the perfect chainsaw, right? And life is the piece of wood, and you just want to be like, you just want to be cutting through that wood and get it on with your life and doing your thing. You don't want to be like sort of stopping and having problems. So we're always, I think, looking for that flow, and it doesn't always happen quickly. I use the idea of the river because we all understand that. But even things in nature like a tree. Look at the way the tree grows. The tree has incredible flow, absolutely natural, but very slow. Right? It doesn't. It's like the river, you can see it comes and goes. But the tree has this very slow element of flow where nothing really stops it. You see these trees that grow round things and up cliffs and through houses, and nothing really stops it, basically. And so I think it's quite a key point to try to find that in our lives. Anyway, back to the singularity. Your turn. I mean, your turn.
No,